What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you enjoyed the final preseason game of the year for the Dallas Cowboys. That's right. The next time that we see your Dallas Cowboys, the next time that we see my Dallas Cowboys, the next time that we see our Dallas Cowboys, it will be for real. It will matter. It will be important. It will be Sunday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But for now, we're here to talk about how the Cowboys fared on Friday night, first game back at AT&T Stadium since the game that we do not talk about, a 27-26 victory. If you put any stock in victories in the preseason, if you care about the score in preseason games, I personally don't, but the Cowboys did win 27-26. Speaking of stock, it is going to be a stock report type of night on our post-game show. We do this after every Dallas Cowboys game. We go stock up, stock down. So whoever you have stock up or stock down for the Dallas Cowboys, please let us know here in the comment section, whether you're watching along, live with us, maybe you're watching or listening after the fact. But either way, stock up, stock down, who do you have? I actually have a lot of stock ups. I do 10 of these, and I have 9 stock ups. I have 1 stock down. I write about this at bloggingtheboys.com. You can read it there. I also put it up on Instagram, so you go check that out at RJ Ochoa. Let's go ahead and get to it. Ethan says stock up Hendershot. Peyton Hendershot did not make my list, did have the touchdown, obviously, was awesome. I do think that that Peyton Hendershot made the roster tonight for the Dallas Cowboys. I think, we have some roster decisions, by the way, to make, and we will have a 53-man roster prediction show available for you that will come out on Sunday, both on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel and the Blogging the Boys podcast network, so you can watch or listen to it. Myself and various Blogging the Boys staffers will go through our own 53-man roster predictions, who we think makes the team, who we don't think makes the team, and why. I do have Peyton Hendershot on my team. I don't have him stock up, but I think he was already on the team. The touchdown was nice. I think he just kind of fortified his point. Rex Morgan says, I got my pink polo on tonight as well. Looking crisp, RJ. Thank you very much, Rex. I dressed sharp for the post game because I love you all so much. Shane says, Sam Williams had his best night so far. Looked good. Totally agree. First stock up, Sam Williams, rookie for the Dallas Cowboys, pass rusher extraordinaire, number 54 in your programs. Second round pick, obviously. It's hard to not be impressed with what we saw from Sam Williams tonight. Was kind of what we have kind of hoped him, or what we've wanted him to be, excuse me. What we've been rooting for him to be. It's difficult to show up and to contribute right away as a pass rusher in the NFL. Just because Micah Parsons did it doesn't mean that anybody else is necessarily capable of it. But tonight showed a lot of potential for Sam Williams. Had the big sack early on. In fact, we do have footage of that. Let's show you. Sam Williams made his case very early on in this game that he was going to be a star.
No, I'm guessing yes.
Sam Williams, the second-round pick out of Ole Miss.
Michael, I'm guessing everything is still so with Nick Saban.
Well, it's not
Great game from Sam Williams. Great game overall. Let's get our stats up here. I know it's difficult to see, but really, Sam Williams was arguably the best defensive player of the game for the Dallas Cowboys in a total sense. Obviously, didn't have a turnover. There were a lot to go around. 4 interceptions for the Dallas Cowboys defense against the Seahawks. But Sam Williams, I thought, was exemplary. Great for him. Ethan says Sam Williams looks exciting. David says Sam Williams is a penalty machine. We can fix that. All right, let's not be negative. We're gonna focus on the positives. Kevin says Williams penalties are a problem. I agree. I think that having roughing the passers and things like that are not ideal and not great. You certainly hope that those things can be coached. But Sam Williams, I thought, otherwise had a very, very, very good game. I think Alex hits it right on the head here. He says penalties can be cleaned up. He showed why the boys thought high of him. Well said. I do want to get to one point very quickly. Where is it? Brian says stock down injuries. Now, we rebranded what you're seeing as stock up and stock down this season to be called stock up and stock down. Because, look, we used to call it winners and losers. I felt so bad, calling people losers. That's not, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be mean. We don't want to be rude. But I will say, one loser tonight, Pete Carroll. All right, Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll. What the hell are you doing, Pete? All right, now, I know we're going to get to a lot of positive things that we saw throughout this game, but near the end of this thing, Pete, chill out, dude. I mean, quit being a hard ass. Like, it's the final minutes of the final preseason game. Miss me with this idea that you're going to be using these final 80, 90 seconds for evaluation of your 53-man roster when your team's going to be trash anyway. Aaron Shamklin, we all hope that he is all right. It was awful to see him be helped off of that field. We really, I think, I know I speak for everyone in saying that we hope that he is all right. If Pete Carroll was just a normal person, that injury never happens. But because Pete Carroll wanted to prove a point, because Pete Carroll had to, go the whole distance here, who knows? I mean, it's unfortunate to say, but Pete Carroll, the one loser that we're going to hand out here on the postgame here on the Blog and the Boys postgame show. But let's go ahead and move on. Move on with the rest of things here. Alex, by the way, says Carroll's always been a jerk with timeouts like that, even back in his USC days. I agree. DJ Dog 31 says Ferguson and Hendershot. I do have as a stock up. Jake Ferguson didn't have the touchdown, obviously, and we had Jake Ferguson as a stock up last week after the game against the LA Chargers. I've never felt this stably confident in the future and the present of the Cowboys tight end group. And I think part of the reason for that is we're not used to transition of power at this position, right? It's just, for the most of us, if you're, 40 years old or younger, it's been Jason Witten, right? It's been Jason Witten and then just kind of figuring crap out. Like, it hasn't really been anybody else. So this idea that what? Whoa, wait, a tight end's not going to play here for 20 years and then retire and then come back? Like, that's not going to happen. So, I mean, to have, Dalton Schultz be as productive as he is, and obviously, this is his position. There's no need to worry about that. But, I mean, Jake Ferguson, I feel very confident in the overall group. Peyton Hendershot, I think, had already made the team before tonight, but I think that touchdown reinforces it. We know that Jeremy Sprinkle's not going to be on this team. The Cowboys already gave him an injury designation and getting down to 80 players. I do have to wonder about Sean McEwen. I don't know about that. I mean, do the Cowboys carry 4 tight ends? Do they only carry 3? Do they trust that Ferguson and Hendershot are enough? If they're going to go long somewhere else, I mean, what other positions would the Cowboys go long that they're going to have to figure it out? I don't know. Maybe at running back, stock up Malik Davis. I mean, look, Malik Davis, I know you like him, all right? Whoever you are, wherever you're watching or listening to this, I know that you are a fan of Malik Davis. The Cowboys have 4 very talented running backs, all right? And it is difficult to figure out how you can get 4 of them on this roster. It's difficult because it's difficult on any NFL roster to carry 4 running backs. It's difficult on this roster when the top 2 and specifically the top 1 are going to get all of the work. And so I don't know that it's the best utilization of a roster spot to keep Malik Davis. And I know people say, well, you got to keep him because you'll need him next year, if the Cowboys do move on from Zeke, if Tony Pollard leaves in free agency. I mean this in the most respectful way possible to both Rico Dowdle and to Malik Davis, but Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis are literally proof at how not difficult it is to find a running back who can contribute at a high level for you. And so I don't know that you have to stash them or carry them on this roster, for specific reasons in the future. Just focus on the here and now. You have to build this roster to compete in this moment because you already have questions at different spots. You can't be, having a luxury sort of, player on your team. That's what Malik Davis would be, a luxury. And he's a luxury that we really, really want. But he really would be a luxury if we're being straight up about it. But let's keep moving on. As far as stock ups are concerned, like I said, we have 1 stock down. We'll get there. But I want to keep it positive for just a little bit here. DaRon Bland. I know that the touchdown happened. I know that the touchdown happened. A little bit on Bland. It's a great throw. Shout out Drew Lock. But, I mean, other than that, DaRon Bland was incredible. I mean, DaRon Bland has completely and totally cemented himself, I think, as the 4th best cornerback on this team, obviously behind Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, and Jordan Lewis. I mean, we'll see what the situation is with Jordan Lewis and the hamstring situation. Does he return in time for week 1? But I think that we feel very, very, very comfortable with DaRon Bland. He has leapfrogged not only Kelvin Joseph, but Nashawn Wright. We'll get to him as well. In fact, let's talk about the cornerback position as a whole. DaRon Bland played very, very well. Very well. The Orion file says that Bland has earned a spot. Definitely. Absolutely. DJ Dog says Bland, yes, stock up. Kelvin Joseph left this game very early on. He was ruled out much later with a concussion. We certainly hope he's doing well. Always goes without saying, we always have thoughts and comments and sometimes points of criticism, but we want all the players on the Cowboys and their opponents to be healthy. So certainly hope that the best is coming for Kelvin Joseph in that department. I do wonder how that changes the calculus here. Are the Cowboys in a situation where they're able to IR Kelvin Joseph? Again, you don't want to think that, but the roster decisions have to be made by Tuesday. And so DaRon Bland is clearly their 4th best best corner. Who's their fifth? Who are they carrying right now as their fifth corner? Is it Kelvin Joseph? Is it Nashawn Wright? I mean, again, if Kelvin has some sort of injury situation going on, I think you have to acknowledge that Nashawn Wright is a bit of a stock up. I'm kind of reaching a little bit here to give Nashawn Wright a stock up. But it's a final preseason game. I want to be a little bit positive here. Astro Joe Garcia, bummer of a night for the Astros. Can't believe Mancini couldn't get it done there at the very end. But I think, look, Nashawn Wright, it's no secret he hasn't had a great preseason. He had a solid camp at least when the team was still in California, but has not translated over to the preseason, and he's almost kind of gotten progressively worse throughout the preseason up until the interception tonight. Larry says, Wright, no thanks. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I mean, right now, if I had to choose, I think I'm choosing Nashawn Wright over Kelvin Joseph.
2 yards, first down at the 48, and right to Nashawn Wright.
That was a trap coverage.
Right after we bragged on him.
Saw that.
Oh, the whole way.
So
But I always say,
how he
Michael,
sunk right in that.
you're going to find out, Michael, being in the booth. I always tell Brad Shim on the Cowboys.
I mean, good for him. Now, Mikey says, I don't think one interception fixes it. I think that's a fair point. Like, I don't think you can overreact and say, well, you had an interception, boom, he's on the roster. But, I mean, if we kind of weigh the pros and cons out, right? Nashawn Wright had a somewhat solid camp. Kelvin Joseph has not. Kelvin Joseph looked somewhat solid last year. Nashawn Wright did not. Nashawn Wright did have a moment where he shined in the preseason. Kelvin Joseph did not, although, again, to be fair to the point, Kelvin Joseph did get injured. Alex, by the way, says, see what happens when you look for the ball. Johnny Boy says, Nashawn is so hot and cold, but definitely earned a spot on the 53. Yeah, I think, like, if you're saying Nashawn's on the 53, I don't think you're saying that he's amazing. I think you're just saying he's on the 53. Jason says that Nashawn got picked on in all 3 games. Joseph also, darn it. Jose says even Kelvin Joseph over Nashawn. And Mendoza takes Nashawn over Kelvin Joseph. Kevin probably has the point that matters the most, I think, here. Says Wright can also play special teams better than Joseph as far as we know that matters. Nashawn Wright is valuable in that if you're the Cowboys, he may be, and look, you don't want to move on from anybody, but he maybe allows you to move on from CJ Goodwin. The Cowboys have carried CJ Goodwin for a long time because of his ability, because of his prowess on the special team side of the ball. If Nashawn Wright can help you there and also help you out defensively, that's something that, to be frank, CJ Goodwin can't really do to that same degree. So I think Nashawn Wright maybe has a more valuable spot. I get it if you think that Kelvin Joseph has more potential. We haven't seen it. I'm not saying you have to move on from one or the other, but that's why you have to be stingy. That's why you can't carry 4 running backs. That's why maybe Sean McEwen's not on this team. You have to be smart about where you're going. There's obviously some depth on this roster that we like in different places. Certainly, it's most heavily on the defensive side of the ball. I think that Nashawn Wright makes it. Brian says Kelvin Joseph over Nashawn Wright easily. Kevin says Nashawn. This is a really interesting decision here. Most of you who are with us live are fairly split. I mean, just kind of reading and sifting through the comments, it's about a 50-50 proposition. We don't have that as our poll question here tonight. Our poll, if you are with us live, YouTube only allows the live audience to vote on this. If you're watching or listening after the fact, our apologies. Simply put, who should be QB2 of the Cowboys? You can vote. You see that blue box on the right side of your screen. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, who should be QB2? Cooper Rush, Will Grier, or a free agent? You can, of course, comment along, but if you vote, we can kind of go off of that. Right now, the group that is with us, let's see here, has, let me see if I can pick this up myself. The group has Will Grier by the lead, or with the lead, 51%, 52% now of the vote belonging to him, 34% to Cooper Rush, and 14% to a veteran free agent. I would much look. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that I like the idea of Cooper Rush being the backup quarterback on this team. I think that's the safest option. And so it depends on how you build your team. Like, it depends what you want. What do you value? Do you want safety? Do you want a high floor? Or do you want a high ceiling? And that's not even the proper way to characterize it when it comes to Grier. Do you just want a scenario where weird crap can happen? And that's kind of how I feel about Will Grier. I don't know what's going to happen, but the dude is far more athletic than Cooper Rush. RJ, Cooper Rush won a game last year against the Minnesota Vikings. It was so awesome. Yes, he won a game. There have been a billion backup quarterbacks who have won games in the NFL. That does not get to live as some sort of like Boy Scout badge on Cooper Rush's sash that we have to praise and honor every time we have this debate. I think that Will Grier is probably the better. That would be my choice. And I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here because my pick would be Will Grier. But I'll tell you right now, when we do our 53-man roster prediction at Blogging the Boys, my pick's going to be Cooper Rush because that's what I think the Cowboys are going to do. I think they like Cooper Rush more. I think they trust him more. I think they're more comfortable with him. He played, sparingly in this game for a reason, and it's because they value him to some degree. Let's get to your comments. By the way, the vote now all the way up to 50. It's still 52% for Will Grier, so a very solid night for him. Let's go here. Ethan says, I vote to cut Grier. Sorry, I just don't see it. Cleaner greens, lawns, and landscape. Hey, you know what? Maybe the wife and I need to talk to you about some landscaping things we're doing in the front yard. Let me know. Says Will Grier. Mary says Ben, of course, talking about Ben DiNucci. DJ Dog says Grier has more ability. David says they both stink. Thank you very much. Lionel, I think it's Lionel, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says the Nooch. Rob, Will did good, but I still think Dallas has Cooper Rush as the backup. I agree with Rob. Lamar says Grier was, hey, Lamar, it's a family show. Let's be cool. Mary again adds Ben D all day. David says Rush is our QB2, proved himself last year. See, I'm fine if you want to say he's the QB2, but to me, the win against the Vikings last year is so meaningless. Like, if we're going off of things that people have proved last year, where's Amari Cooper? Where's Lyle Collins? But I don't want to relitigate that. Skeptical fan says Ben DiNucci stole the limelight from Rush today. David again says they're all terrible. Lamar says DiNucci finished with a 115.5 passer rating. Dark Room Studio says Grier does have a stronger arm. Again, a fairly split room here. Lamar, don't worry on the language. At least you used Z's instead of S's. We're all good here. Dale Tisdale, again, with kind of the winning comments, is Jerry and Steven will pick Rush. I don't think that Will Grier did enough to win the job. If we're being fair to the process, I think he had a chance. I do think that the Cowboys had pretty much made up their mind in a rig Friday night, but I don't think that Grier did enough to win the job. I think, and similarly, in the preseason games before this, I know Cooper was bad against Denver. I don't know that Cooper did enough to lose the job, and I know this is a weird way to put this. I think Cooper did enough to make it a competition, and so Cooper did enough to open the door, but Will just didn't step in it. Will just kind of hung out there and was like, hey, man, this door's open. Like, love is an open door. Shout out, of course, to Elsa and her sister. But anyway, Will Grier did have a nice day. Threw a touchdown to Simi Fehoko. That was nice to see.
And Grier back in the end zone.
Way too easy.
Simi Fehoko wide open.
Now, I will say this. AJ's point says if Will wasn't getting pressure in his face every snap, he would have done better. So we've done a lot of stock ups. I've tried to avoid, I've wanted to save the stock down for the end, but I can't anymore. A lot of you have been commenting about this. Texas Chill says don't disrespect Anna. I couldn't remember her name. I knew it was Elsa. I couldn't remember Anna. Excuse me. I couldn't remember Anna's name. So that's my bad. Our lone stock down, again, loser Pete Carroll. It should be said again. Pete Carroll is Captain Hardass. Thinks that you have to go down to the wire in the third preseason game because this is football. Nah, Pete, get the hell out of here. Anyway, our lone stock down. We have 9 stock ups. You can read this at bloggingtheboys.com or on my Instagram or the Blogging the Boys Instagram. Stock down Josh Ball, man. And this has been a trying week for the Cowboys, obviously, at the tackle position. We all know that. We all know that Tyron Smith's out till December at the earliest, and that's a whole different subject. I think it's foolish of the Cowboys to presume that Tyron's going to be back at all this season, but again, different subject. But it is relative here. Like, it is involved in the calculus. It's involved in the deriving of our answer here. And so I tweeted a lot and people get upset, like, hey, let it go, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it is amazing. Like think about this yourself. I would like you to actually think about this. And I'm not saying you're incapable. I just want to spell it out for you. Think about this very clearly. The Dallas Cowboys, in full, clear, conscious mind, this offseason, looked at Josh Ball and said, hey, if Tyron gets hurt, that'll work. Like, that happened. Like, at one point in time, the Cowboys looked at this and said, it's Josh Ball guy. If Tyron goes down, and that's an if, right? He might not go down. He's only gone down 6 years in a row, but hey, maybe he won't, right? If he goes down, this Josh Ball kid, right? We'll be fine. We'll be good. We have Josh Ball on our team. What could possibly go wrong? Mendoza, Ball was getting cooked. I cannot disagree, or not, I cannot agree with that more. Zam DFW, the issue with Ball is power, not easy to fix with reps, which is why Smith will start there. Talking about Tyler Smith, Zam DFW is Larry Wright says, RJ, is it fair to say this is one of the most athletic teams we've had in several years? Yeah, probably on the defensive side of the ball. Shane Davis says in the comment section, Nate Newton was not fond of the idea of Ball being left tackle, LOL. I don't know exactly how whoever you are watch this game, but the Cowboys broadcast obviously does a great job. And Nate Newton was on the sidelines doing a hit with Bill Jones and Babe Laufenberg, and Michael Irvin was in the booth at the time, and we all know how Irvin can be super optimistic, super rosy and sunshiny when it comes to the Cowboys. And Nate Newton just like eviscerated that. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, I know I retweeted it. We retweeted it at the Blog on the Boys Twitter account. You can go check out his little rant. He was like, Ball is. He basically said, Josh Ball sucks. I mean, like, I think it would have been nicer and kinder and more empathetic to put it that way. But he said that he prays for Josh Ball, that he's not ready. He's not ready, that the speed of the game is killing him. So just, I mean, there's just, I don't know how you can be this unprepared if you're the Cowboys. If you're a professional football team, I don't know how you can be this unprepared for this circumstance. Some things you can be unprepared for and it will suck, but at least we can understand it, right? Like if you just get a rash of injuries at corner, right? And you're like, well, dude, like our top 4 dudes are all hurt. Nobody can plan for that. That's fair. That's true. We'll give you that. But this was super predictable. And it not only was super predictable, but like you counted on a guy with 0 NFL experience. And not just a guy, it's not like, like Ronnie Stanley in Baltimore, who like hasn't played ever since he got his contract. Basically, it's not a situation like that. It was a 4th round pick. Like you can't just rely on all these late round picks to save you because you want them to. Hope is not a strategy. Let's see here. Barry says, "Yep, Nate did trash Ball." Jason says, "I doubt Tyler Smith has forgotten how to play left tackle." I think the best plan for the Cowboys to handle this is they have to get somebody. They have to. It would be comical. It would be a joke to head into this regular season with what they have at tackle. It's just impossible. You cannot, in clear conscious mind, believe. Nobody can believe that this is enough. Nobody. I mean, sure, Matt Willetsko looked okay, showed some power at least. Johnny Boy RN says Josh Ball makes me want to reconsider Chaz. I mean, it's tough. Our friend, I love, again, family show, like everybody's entitled to their own choices, not trying to start any debates or anything here, but our friend, we'll just call them I Love Flowers, says just like lighten up and your lighter is dead. I mean, it's tough. Ethan says, who is available? Dale says there's no one to get. There's Brian Balaga, Marcus Cannon, Jason Peters. There's Tyan Secchi if you want to go that route. There's Andrew Whitworth. That was a thing. And I know that he didn't explicitly say that he had been contacted by the Cowboys. That is an option. There's Laramie Tunsil. There's Andre Dillard that like miss me with this. And you know what? I would in a weird way be proud of the Cowboys. I Love Flowers, by the way, adds that they are a gardener. So good job on me with that sort of quick nickname. Eric Fisher, as Rex Morgan says, I mean, there's just no way that you can sit here and say there's nobody. And you cannot say there's nobody like that's some sort of defense when you've waited this long. Like the Cowboys cannot, it is actually insulting. It's like insulting to our intelligence to say, look, there's nobody to go get right now. It's August. We know. That's why we told you. And we've been complaining and moaning and groaning and whining and shouting and screaming since March to take this seriously, and you didn't. And so just because it's now doesn't mean you're off the hook. It means you got to get more creative to figure this thing out. So, I mean, it's up to them. Kevin says, I don't want Zach Martin to play left tackle because he doesn't want to. Definitely one option. If you want to get really creative, you could kick Zach out. You could kick Terrence out. You could put Terrence on the left side, Zach at right tackle, Connor McGovern at right guard. The same Connor McGovern who got work at center in this particular preseason game. Brian says, no, he did explicitly say he'd been contacted by the Cowboys. LOL. Just so everybody's clear, and Andrew Whitworth and his wife, Melissa Whitworth, clarified this with us on Twitter. He did not say that the Dallas Cowboys have contacted him. He just intimated it, implied it. It's open to interpretation. It's a subjective sort of thing. AJ Torres says if Ball starts, I guarantee every team's putting all their rush on his side. I don't think so. Why? You don't need to load up against Josh Ball. One man wins. I mean, like, why would you waste resources there? Streaker says, I like Collins. Aviante Collins is who Streaker's talking about to get a shot at left tackle. Otherwise, put Tyler in there and pray. The best option would be an older veteran like Whitworth, anyone but Ball. Really, it was just a very, very... Again, I think Wednesday night. I think Friday night was a very positive night for the Cowboys in a lot of senses. A lot of young players stepped up, and we still have more stock ups to get to, and we have your comments and your thoughts to get to as well. For those of you who joined us late, this is our live postgame show here at Blogging the Boys. But it is difficult to only focus on the positive and to ignore this. And to the point that kind of segued us into this conversation, I mean, Josh Ball made it difficult to properly evaluate Will Grier. Josh Ball made it properly difficult to evaluate Cooper Rush. I mean, and so at that point, if it's difficult to properly evaluate Cooper Rush or Will Grier, it's difficult to properly evaluate these receivers who are down the roster. And to their credit, to the quarterback's credit, they were able to have some nice moments. And hey, I mean, but look, Josh Ball, not it. We don't have to pound on it forever and ever and ever. But I mean, Cowboys, please do something, do anything. We really, really, really would like that. Johnny Boy, by the way, says Peters and Fisher should be on a plane to Dallas right now. I agree. All right. Now, I am Pete Carroll, by the way, if anybody cares, just announced that Geno Smith will start week 1. I don't see any notes that say that Pete Carroll apologized to Aaron Shamklin, but, maybe he's too busy naming a starter for week 1. It is what it is. All right. Let's get back to stock ups. This one is... It's just, look, I have no problem admitting if I'm wrong about something. And I don't think I'm wrong. I don't want to be right. But I don't think I would characterize how I feel or my disposition as wrong. But nevertheless, I will give him his flowers. Brett Maher gets a stock up. All right. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I have only ever said and tweeted positive things about Brett Maher. I have only showed adoration and pride in the Cowboys' willingness to give him a second chance. I have only ever said that this was a genius idea that a brilliant front office would execute. Those are the only things I've ever said about this. All right. But in all seriousness, Brett Maher has been fine, right? Like he's, you can't call any kicker like amazing except for Justin Tucker, right? I mean, but he's been fine. He's been stable. He's been trustworthy. He's been reliable. He has been accurate. He's been what you expect your kicker to be. I mean, he has the 2 misses that are from downtown. I don't hold that against him. I don't think anybody should hold that against him. I mean, you can't have a legitimate, accuracy level from, 60, 61 yards, whatever. So I think Brett Maher deserves credit. I do. I think he deserves credit. His stock is literally up. And I think that if you're the Cowboys, have every reason to move forward with him in the regular season. He may burn you. He might. That could happen. We all know the situation with Brett Maher, but he did improve last year with the New Orleans Saints, right? We know that. So maybe he's turned the corner. Maybe he's figured it out. Maybe everything is working and grooving. Maybe he went on a diet or figured something out. Maybe there's a show he's into. Who knows? Whatever Brett Maher is doing, I'm fine with it. All right, so Brett Maher, I'll say I've been a little bit too hard on you. You proved me wrong a little bit here. I'm sorry. Thank you. I hope that you are perfect and wonderful for the Cowboys, and I hope that you have a great weekend. But let's move on. More stock ups. We haven't gotten to Israel Mukuamu. We have a lot to get to. Holy crap. Israel Mukuamu, I honestly thought, let's see here, by the way, always want to make sure that we're getting you what is happening with post-game press conferences because we are live. We'll get to Israel Mukuamu in a moment. Sorry, no disrespect to him, but a brief pause here. A tweet from Michael Gelkin of the Dallas Morning News right now. The decision hasn't been finalized yet, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones said, but he expressed confidence in Tyler Smith at left tackle. This is a quote from Stephen Jones. I'm going to try to read it, I haven't heard the quote, but I'm trying to read it the way I think it was probably said. What did he play in college? I mean, it's not foreign to him to stand out there and be a left tackle. I mean, look, is it not a let's get a banner up on here so everyone can see it. So Stephen Jones expressed confidence in Tyler Smith at left tackle. So, all right, again, we'll get to Israel Mukuamu. Apologies to him. This is important, right? This is important because this is a very important position. This is a very important potential pendulum swing. This is a very important thing as far as figuring out what the Dallas Cowboys are going to look like. All right. Big fan of Tyler Smith. That's something else myself and a lot of people have been proven wrong about. That's maybe the thing that has aged the best for the Dallas Cowboys over the offseason is their belief in Tyler Smith throughout the draft process. But this is a different thing, and this is an incredible expectation that the Cowboys are putting on him, right? And we know that the Cowboys will do this with rookies, right? We know that the Cowboys will place an enormous amount of an enormous amount of responsibility on the shoulders of rookies. They did it to Zeke Elliott. They did it to Dak Prescott. They did it to Micah Parsons. Come in, save us. And what happens if he doesn't? I mean, look, maybe he's awesome. Maybe he has maybe he's just the most amazing left tackle to ever live, right? Like that possibility exists. But what if he struggles? Like none of us are fans of Connor McGovern playing left guard. So now your left side is Connor McGovern, Tyler Smith, and I maintain this is one of the better options that the Cowboys have. This is a rough situation. It's tough to make lemonade out of what's going on here. But there is an enormous amount of risk with playing Tyler Smith at left tackle. You risk damaging his growth. You risk damaging his spirit. I mean, playing left tackle is hard in the NFL for anyone, let alone for a rookie that's been playing left guard this entire time. I mean, again, there's no good plan here. There's no good plan. Alex Storm says, well, let's throw away all the potential for Tyler Smith at left guard to put him outside. This year isn't going to be a good one if he has to move outside because of the Jones' stubbornness. I agree. I think we have a troll. Let's go ahead and put our troll in timeout. I believe that the troll's name was Camden, and that has upset me because the Orioles beat my Astros tonight. I don't want to hear anything to do with the name Camden. If you troll in here, you got to be polite. But if you troll, you get put in timeout. If you're a troll past that, we just block you. That's the way it rolls. Anyway, this is a bad idea. It's a bad idea to do this. It's an incredibly risky idea. Astro Joe Garcia, I think, said it really well. Said the Jones boys will put him at left tackle. If it works, they're geniuses. If not, it's McCarthy's fault. There are a lot of people who are going to be charged for the crimes of the Cowboys front office if this season doesn't work out. It's unwise. It's unwise at best. What's amazing about it is the Cowboys will sit here and tell us things like, well, we can't play Josh Ball at tackle, so what do you guys suggest? That was your plan. Like, that was the plan. Think about it. If Tyron hadn't gotten hurt at some point this season, right, whenever he did get hurt, they would have thrown Josh Ball out there against whoever, and then we have the Eagles trolling here, the Eagles, the Vikings, the Packers, whatever, and he would have been terrible. And they'd have been like, I don't know what happened, guys. This is so crazy. It's tough, but obviously that's a subject that's going to continue to kind of percolate for the next few days. Maybe this is all just kind of, speak until the Cowboys get an answer that they like, maybe a move that they like. But we will see. We will see. Anyway, let's get back. Stock up. Israel Mukuamu, we interrupted you kind of the way that Marquise Bell interrupted Dak Prescott during the game, if you were watching. I did not think that this is kind of a crow episode for me. I was low on Brett Maher. I was low on Tyler Smith. I was low on Israel Mukuamu. I'm a really big believer in Israel Mukuamu, but it was a unique situation where the Cowboys are all of a sudden deep at the safety position, which is just weird. How did this happen? What team is this that they're all of a sudden deep And by the way, I see all your Astros jokes, guys. Again, let's. If you're going to make some jokes, let's get creative here. All right? The cheating, the trash can stuff, let's get creative. All right, I have no problem with trolling and jokes, but be creative, be original. All right, I'm challenging you all. But anyway, Israel Mukuamu, because you think about the safety depth on this team, you're talking about obviously Jaron Kearse, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson. It just didn't seem like there was going to be enough room for him. But he has carved out a spot. We've seen him play safety, obviously. We've seen him play nickel corner, obviously starting last week with Jordan Lewis's injury thing. Kevin says Israel's going to get real playing time the way he finds himself around the ball. We know he is highly athletic. That was obviously his thing coming out of South Carolina a year ago. He has the physical tools, and it is so cool to see him put it all together. He had the interception that started this whole thing. Israel Mukuamu, people, stock up on him. He was stock up last week, and he's stock up again this week.
13 games his second year in the league.
Oh!
And breaking on that one.
Great play.
Mukuamu with his second interception of this preseason.
Watch how he sits on this and reads this.
The Cowboys have 2 interceptions.
I see a lot of Yankees fans now in the comments. This conversation has turned very, very interesting. But shout out to Israel Mukwamu. Great game. Stock up for you. I like this question from Adrian. Says, how many wide receivers are we carrying? By the way, Anon says Seattle played all their starters. LOL, that's right. Pete Carroll, another big loser, whose starters got worked by the Cowboys 2s and 3s. But anyway, how many receivers are we carrying? Let's think about this. All right. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. They're not putting him on the pup. Jerry said that this week. They're going to carry James Washington at the beginning, right, to put him on some sort of injury designation. So we've got that. Jalen Tolbert. Stop. Who do you think? Who are your receivers? I'm at 4. I think Simi Fajoko's made this team. That's 5. I think Simi's kind of leapfrogged Noah Brown. Noah Brown, I think we were all super high on for a little while, and that's faded just a little bit. I think he's 6th right now on my list. If I have to make this, Kevontae Turpin, obviously I see a lot of you saying he's special, but you're right. That's 1. That's 7 that we're at. So and I saw earlier in the chat, TJ Vasher, there was a comment that he's kind of faded. Yeah, TJ Vasher went from, he's still probably, now that camp and the preseason, he probably had the catch of this entire time. TJ Vasher had the best catch, but he's probably not going to make the team. I don't know that Dennis Houston makes the team. Maybe Dennis Houston is somebody who the Cowboys, after they IR James Washington, bring back. Maybe. And look, this is such an interesting thing because we feel like we have all this knowledge on this team because we've seen 3 preseason games, we've seen joint practices, we've seen training camp, etc. We haven't seen the starting offense, right? We have no idea how this starting offense is going to work. We didn't even really get to see them against the Chargers because CeeDee Lamb was hurt. We haven't seen, Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. How are the Cowboys going to use him? There's been all this chatter about Tony Pollard being used out of the slot. So, does that kind of answer for some of this? Are Tony Pollard and Kevontae Turpin, kind of tools and assets to work with in the passing game? Do we see the Cowboys go that direction? Maybe. I think the absolute undeniable safes are CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, James Washington, Jalen Tolbert, Simi Fehoko. Kevontae Turpin. Those are 6. Those are your 6 that are untouchables. I think Noah Brown is kind of the next tier, and he's probably safe. Other than that, I know there's a lot of people saying that, that Dennis Houston is somebody who Dak likes. I don't think that matters that much. Dennis Houston hasn't really done much to impress. Brandon Smith had a nice moment, obviously, tonight. But still, you can't keep them all. You just can't. And so this was a position where they could have gone out and gotten somebody else, and maybe we feel okay about the fact that they didn't right now. I don't think we feel great about it, but maybe we feel okay. So I think those are the 6, maybe 7. And again, then you get James Washington out of the picture. Maybe they bring somebody back who they cut. But I think the answer for now is probably 6, even with James Washington not being counted after they initially carry him. So that's my thought, at least, on how many receivers they carry. Let's see here. Making sure nobody said anything interesting. All right, let's keep moving. Stock. Let's see. Question. Cowker says, double down, get both Wynn and Fisher. Look, I know people want to talk about the tackle issue. We can only say it so many times. The Cowboys have a terrible plan at tackle right now. They need to do something about it. Tyler Smith cannot be your plan. Because, here's the thing. Even if you want to say, and I don't want to come back to this and just talk about this forever and ever and ever again, because there are other players who played well. But even if, right, go with me for a moment, people, all right? Let's say Tyler Smith is awesome. That's a huge assumption. It's a mega assumption. I meant to say mega. It's a mega assumption that Tyler Smith is going to be amazing, right? Let's live in that world. Let's say Tyler Smith is awesome, right? Say he's perfect. Say he's wonderful. Say he is ideal. Say he is just as good as Tyron Smith. Okay. Who is your swing tackle? Because the answer is Josh Ball, right? At the end of the day, the answer is Josh Ball. You have to get somebody, even if you believe that Tyler is the answer, because that's what we've been saying this entire time. Josh Ball was one bad play away from becoming incredibly important to your team. That one bad play happened this past week. All right? You cannot place any level of responsibility on Josh Ball's shoulders. If you do not go out and get anybody, you are placing an enormous amount of responsibility on his shoulders. Because, like, we just learned, I mean, not that it was, surprising, but Tyron Smith got hurt this week, right? Tyron Smith got hurt this week. So we know that, bad crap can happen. What if Tyler Smith gets hurt then? You have nobody. You cannot say that you that this is a good plan. Fine. Play Tyler Smith at left tackle, but you have to get somebody in here to be your swing tackle option. And what's unfortunate, and shout out to Vok Lombardi, one of the best, if not the best Cowboys YouTuber in the land. I saw a tweet this at the beginning of tonight's preseason game. The Cowboys are going to have to get rid of a defensive lineman, maybe an interior defensive lineman who is very good, or at least good enough to be on this team. They're going to have to move on from that player, or whoever we're talking. Maybe it's not an interior defensive lineman. Maybe it's Sean McEwen. Maybe it's Malik Davis. Maybe it's one of these corners. All right? They're going to have to get rid of somebody who we all like, because they're going to stubbornly keep Josh Ball. I mean, like, you tell me, yes or no, I know this isn't our poll question, but is Josh Ball, if we just ranked them, is Josh Ball one of the 53 best players on this team? No. Is he even one of the, 65 best players on this team? No. I mean, you cannot make that argument. You cannot carry him and let go of a good football player just in the name of carrying what you want. I mean, we're sitting here talking about, I think fairly so, how the Cowboys might cut Kelvin Joseph or Nashawn Wright, right? Like, and whoever you are, you might disagree with that, right? Like, you might be saying, I don't want the Cowboys to cut either, I'm Team Kelvin, I'm Team Nashawn, cut the other one, fine, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. That's cool. That makes sense. Like, whatever. But we can all see how it's logical for the Cowboys to cut one of those players, right? Kelvin Joseph was their second-round pick a year ago. Nashawn Wright was their third-round pick a year ago, one of them. Josh Ball went in the fourth round. All right, so how can you prioritize? How can you say that Josh Ball's so precious and so important that we have to keep him, but we can cut one of these corners? How can you do that? I mean, like, it is silly that you have to, keep him because you don't have. Spend the money. You generated it elsewhere. Get off the couch like Suri in Survivor and go play this game. All right, you're not helping anybody by forcing this issue. Kevin says, yeah, but it's unfair to Let's Go to put that much on him that fast after being hurt, guys. I think Kevin's talking about a lot of you saying that Matt Waletzko could be the swing tackle if they move on from Josh Ball. I agree. I mean, so that's the thing, like, how can you sit here and say, not any of you, but if you're the Cowboys, okay, you know what? We don't have to sign anybody because Tyler Smith's going to be our left tackle, and then Will McClay and Matt Waletzko will just be the swing tackle. Like, we'll just be fine. Like, that's literally learning nothing. That's literally learning nothing from this catastrophe that encircled your team. And maybe the Cowboys are trying to drag this thing out. They're trying to hold out. They're trying to last until after week one is over when they can sign somebody and their salary cannot be guaranteed. Quit being cheap. Go spend some money. You have it. You have some of the most salary cap space in the NFL at this time. You were saving it for a rainy day. It's pouring outside. It is the rainy day. Go turn the crock pot on, make the soup, get a blanket, get on the couch, turn on the Netflix, and enjoy the rain. All right? It's the rainy day that you saved all this for. You cannot look out the window and say, it's raining. I don't like that. I don't want it to be raining, so it's not raining. I've decided it's not raining anymore. So that's just kind of where I'm at. Streaker says, breathe before I hyperventilate. Look, I'm passionate about this, all right? I want the Cowboys to win. We all want them to win. I mean, I love all of you. I love that we all love this team together. So I want them to win. I am passionate about this. So sometimes I speak quickly. I know it's my Achilles heel. But as I take a sip of my root beer, all right, Ethan says this is not the kind of worry we wanted to start the season. I agree. Adrian says, let's rage. I like that. Brady, by the way, says, RJ just described an awesome date. Enjoy the rain. Hey, whoever you are, wherever you're at, if it's raining, you got an opportunity to enjoy that with a special somebody, do it. That's Dr. RJ's advice to you. Anon says, you're drunk. It's a root beer, people. It's a root beer. We'll see what happens after this. Kevin says, RJ, do you think that they're saving that money to pay CD, Trayvon, or Micah? Here's the thing, Kevin. One of these things has to happen. One of these following things has to happen. All right. Either we need to see the Cowboys spend some of that money right now, or next offseason, after the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs need to get market-setting deals. because that's what we've been told, right? We've been told that this money's being saved, right? We have this money earmarked. We're saving it for a very, very special thing. We got to pay all these guys, all right? So what I do not want to hear, and what would make them even more or larger hypocrites than they currently are, is if we got to the offseason and they all of a sudden got stingy with CD and Trayvon. And by the way, CD and Trayvon are only first eligible, or eligible for the first time, I should say, next offseason. They're really going to give both of them extensions at that point in time with years of team control still on their rookie contracts. That's very unlike this front office. So one of those things has to happen. We will not have the full answer, obviously, until next offseason's over. But if they don't pay anybody now, if they don't give CD or Trayvon market-setting deals in the offseason, then we know that they were just full of it. We know they were just dragging their feet. We already know that, but we have further confirmation on that idea. But yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, hang on here. Let me get this banner up. I'm sorry, people. I know. I'm very sorry. Let me get this up. I don't mean to. Let's see. This is not great news. It's hard for me to type and talk. Okay. According to Michael Gelkin of the Dallas Morning News, Israel Mukwamu aggravated a groin injury on Friday night. I'm just going to read you Michael's tweet. Michael's one of the best people on the Cowboys beat locally. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Gelkin NFL. That's GEHLKEN. His tweet reads, Cowboys safety Israel Mukwamu aggravated a groin injury tonight that he dealt with leading up to the win over the Seahawks. He'll undergo an MRI on Saturday. Mukwamu is one of the team's most improved players. He had his second interception in as many games. Obviously had the interception a week ago against the Chargers. Not devastating news. It's close. We've kind of been through it this week. Like, you really can't hurt us at this point. But, we're sitting here and it's so hard. I know people, play conspiracy theorists a lot this time of year because, in case you don't know, I know some people are newer to following the NFL. In case you don't know, the Dallas Cowboys, like every NFL team, will have to set their 53-man roster on Tuesday. After they initially set it, or rather, when they initially set it, let's use players like James Washington as an example, who's hurt. If they want to put him on injured reserve and be able to bring him back later this season, they have to carry him on their roster initially. So we'll see the Cowboys get a little bit creative with their roster. In all likelihood, the Cowboys will cut Brian Anger, Brett Maher, and Jake McQuaid, their three specialists, and they'll do that to allow for flexibility to carry the James Washingtons of the world, so that after the 24 hours have passed, after the roster is set, they can put James Washington on IR. They can generate a spot that way. And so you have to wonder if maybe the Cowboys are ultimately going to place Israel Mukwamu on injured reserve. I mean, maybe that's something that happens. That's an assumption that's making a little bit of a leap here. And obviously, the most important thing here is that Israel Mukwamu is healthy, that he's feeling all right. But maybe that allows them to stash him for a little while if they carry him on injured or on the roster and then place him on injured reserve just a little bit after, and then kind of finish what they have to do afterwards. So it's tough. Kevin, by the way, says it just depends how serious aggravated it is. I agree with you, but still not what you want to hear about somebody who's playing very well. Thank you for the super chat. Brian says that argument is BS. The first year of a contract is always cheap from a cap standpoint. Again, talking about the Cowboys idea here is, everything. You're right. Like they have no arguments that make sense. I agree with you. Let's see here. Mike McCarthy's answer at left tackle. This comes from David Moore of the Dallas Morning News. Tweeted this out. McCarthy said, we've got a lot of work to do. And I don't know if I've ever said this. I have another monitor over here. That's why I look over here when I do this. I just don't want anybody to think I like looking at you guys. I just don't want to, just so you know. This is how the sausage gets made. We've got a lot of work to do in the next 48 hours. As far as the decisions on how we'll line up in the offensive line, we'll get that done in the next couple of days. They want groups. The staff wants a group set for Monday's practice. Stephen Jones added another comment on Tyron Smith, the injury, said, well, the good news is we addressed it in the draft, and Tyler Smith, from the get-go, we said he's our future left tackle, so the future may be sooner than later. Steven, see, like, this argument is so silly to me. yes, you said that Tyler, was the future left tackle of your team. Then you put him at guard. You can't you cannot have your cake and eat it too here. You cannot pretend like you knew this was going to happen and that's why you drafted Tyler Smith. If you had drafted Tyler Smith, Steven, and you had not only if you had ever worked him at left tackle since June, then we would believe that. We would believe a modicum of that, right? We would believe just a little bit of that if you had been working Tyler Smith at left tackle. But the fact that you haven't given him any camp or preseason reps at that position is, proof that you did not foresee this, that you did not have any intention of playing Tyler at that position now. Just because the future is now does not make it good. It means that your plan fell apart. Get a new plan. This is a bad one, but it's wild. It truly is wild. But anyway, okay, let's move on. Other stock ups. We talked about Sam Williams, Israel Mukwama, Deron Bland, Nashawn Wright, Jake Ferguson, Brett Maher, Will Greer, Malik Davis. We talked about Josh Ball as stock down. There's one stock up that we have not addressed yet. All right, and he deserves his moment. Come on down, Marquise Bell. Marquise Bell showed out against the Seattle Seahawks. I know his interception was a tip ball, and it's okay. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool giving it to him. It was very clear and obviously he was going to make this team. I think this just was like a cherry on top, and that's cool to see. Marquise Bell, Dak Prescott, if you didn't see it, was being interviewed when this happened, so it was cool to see his reaction as well. This was one of the best moments of the game.
Guys that are playing right now, we're going to need come 2 weeks, so making sure. Let's go! That's one of them.
Making sure something like that happens, Bill.
Marquise Bell with a pick. Go ahead.
So honestly, guys like that fighting for their job, trying to make plays. It's exciting. We got a great group of young guys, and happy.
Marquise Bell, baby, we're proud of you. That was awesome. I mean, again, it's felt like he was going to make this team from the moment the Cowboys. They gave him a lot of money as an undrafted free agent, and he's obviously somebody who a lot of people really liked in the draft process. It was strange to see him not get drafted, so it's awesome to see him having success. Shout out to Marquise Bell, as Lamar says, ring the bell. All right, so let's wrap. Let's start to wrap with your questions. Whatever questions you have, just drop them. Just fire them away. Just like just throw them out. Question time, baby. By the way, our poll results, I think the poll has kind of spoken for itself. Who should be QB2 for the Cowboys? Will Greer has 57% of the vote, which means that we're all going to feel so much joy when the Dallas Cowboys, when they go with Cooper Rush as QB2. Stephen Jones, by the way, added, this is from Todd Archer, the offensive line is a tough spot in this league right now. Not a lot of guys out there that can just step in. Connor McGovern's been coming. Look at him as a starter-type lineman. Picked Tyler Smith number 1. You don't find a lot of guys out there that can step in and do better. Well, you know what? You could find some guys. You could try, right? Like you could literally just try. That's kind of what we're asking. Just like literally doing the bare minimum. That's what we're asking you to do, Steven. But hey, maybe that's too much. Brady says, who are we cutting that's on the defensive line? We have 10 capable players, all worth a roster spot. We can't keep everyone. Let me see here. Let me pull up my Google Doc. Like I said, we are going to do a 53-man roster prediction show. We're filming that on Saturday morning. It will be available for you on Sunday on both the YouTube channel and the podcast network. Here are the players I have at defensive end. I have 5. DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, Terrell Basham. Those are my 5. You mentioned 10 players. I have 11 because I'm carrying 6 defensive tackles myself. Neville Gallimore, Osa Digizua, Quentin Bohanna, Tristan Hill, Chauncey Golston, I've classified as a defensive tackle, and John Ridgeway. Now, if I have to let go of one of them, I think that we were very excited about John Ridgeway after the draft, right, and when camp started, and I don't know that we've seen enough to feel like you can't get him on the practice squad at least. I would feel comfortable cutting him, and that's the thing. Like looking at my roster, like you got to make tough decisions. If I had to save a spot, or if I had to go trim somebody to make a spot, that'd be one of the first places I would look. Again, on my prediction personally. So I mean, but if it's me, I'm carrying 10 defensive linemen. That's just me. Brian, by the way, I'm so sorry. He says that I missed 2 super chats. I'm very, very sorry, Brian. Says with no halfback or fullback, 4 running backs is not out of the question. I agree that, no fullback allows for an extra running back, but I don't don't want 4 backs. I don't need that many. I just need 3. And I'm good. I'm good there personally. So, I mean, I get the spirit of the question, but I don't think that it's necessary to carry 4 backfield players for any reason, especially when this team is going to feed Zeke 25 times a game or whatever. That's just, I think it's wasting a roster spot as much as I want to keep Malik Davis. Johnny Boy RN says, could we see a trade of defensive linemen for offensive linemen? I mean, it's possible. Who are you trading? Like, that's the question. Who are you trading? Because are you trading? I think everybody would say, well, trade Tristan Hill, right? Like trade the guy who's in a contract year. Trade the guy who we don't really like. Trade Tristan Hill. Try to get Isaiah Wynn for Tristan Hill. I just don't think so. I mean, like what market is there for Tristan Hill? He's in a contract year. He's had questionable issues, obviously, with this team. I don't see that happening. So, like, who are you trading? Are you nobody's trading for Dante Fowler or Terrell Basham. You're not touching, Tank or Sam Williams. And to be fair, maybe you go light there. Maybe you do cut Terrell Basham or Dante Fowler. They didn't play Basham tonight, which suggests that they're keeping him. But maybe you feel like you can go lighter there because you have not only Micah Parsons now, but Anthony Barr. But Johnny Boy RN notes Basham or Hill. Again, what market is there? Like, I don't think you're getting much from there. Personally, I think if you're trading somebody who you feel like is a legitimate player, it's Kelvin Joseph or Nashawn Wright. Like, that's the trade I think that you're going to make. But the Cowboys do have a surplus of talent at defensive line or across the defensive line. I just don't think any of it is really tradable personally. Brian, thank you again for the super chat. Says there are going to be a lot of injuries that pop up this week, and some of those are ending up on injured reserve before the 53 is set, stashing them for next year. That's true. We'll see. I don't think the Cowboys have any they're stashing for next year. I saw, shout out to Skywalker Steele, another amazing Cowboys YouTuber with A to Z Sports, he tweeted out the initial fear might be a high ankle sprain. I saw that out of the corner of my eye, so I might be wrong. Let's see here. Stephen Jones said, according to Todd Archer, it's time to go to work and get ready for Tampa. That's what we're most worried about. But the cut down is the cut down. We'll deal with that. Make good decisions. Surely you will, Steven. We trust in that completely. Let's see here. D-Boy says, I honestly don't see the surplus talent on the defensive line. I think it's just really, it's a good group. Like, I get that point. Oh, Brian says Carlos Watkins getting cut. Yeah, I don't have him on my roster personally. That's just, again, it's tough. I mean, it's hard. It's really tough. So he's one of my cuts, which is difficult. But to answer D-Boy's point, yeah, I get it. Like, if you pluck out the talent one by one, maybe you don't think that they're amazing. But I think the collective, I think the sum of the parts is really, really, really interesting. And so this is one of the best ways I've ever felt about the Cowboys defensive line. Zam DFW says no one has a spare quality offensive line guy, so we'll take quality assets and or a draft pick to extract one. And I agree with this. And this is something that, a lot of people, say, and you can kind of say this when it comes to like kicker, although even that is a little bit shallow of a point, but people say, just wait for roster cut downs. We'll get a swing tackle then. Okay, so your plan is a player that another team deems not fit to play for them, right? Like that team's getting ready to start their regular season and they don't want that player, but you think that's the magic fix here. That's the best plan. Like, that's the thing. Like, I agree with Sam DFW. Like, you want something, you got to pay. And look, I don't want the Cowboys to overpay, obviously, but I've said this, done a few different shows with a few different friends over the last few days, especially in the aftermath of the Tyra news. And something I've said a lot is I would in a weird way respect the hell out of the Cowboys if they overpaid right now. If the Cowboys panicked, call it panicking, and again, like, I'm exaggerating here, but they went and paid a first-round pick, a second-round pick, went and got themselves, a left tackle that they could work with or a right tackle that they could work with, I would respect the hell out of that, because that would be the first thing that they have done since they lost to the 49ers that showed that they recognize that there's something on the line this year. So in a very, very, very strange way, I would really respect them, quote unquote, overpaying for somebody at tackle right now. Rodney says, do you think Wright and Joseph make the team? If not both, who stays? My personal guess would be that Wright stays. That's my own guess. I think he's had just better moments, but I think that Joseph was a higher pick, so they want to see that pan itself out. So I think that, again, not to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but I think they would pick Joseph, but I would pick Wright. But I'm starting to lean towards both of them staying. I do have them both on my 53-man roster personally. So we'll see. Scott, by the way, says we don't want another team's Josh Ball. I agree with you, but Kayvon Coe says that player is better than Ball. That's true, but again, just so we're all aware, like let's remember this. Let's harness this energy. Like I've never seen Dragon Ball Z, but like the harnessing. I don't know what that's called. I know that people are really sensitive about Dragon Ball Z, but like so whatever that is called, let's harness this energy because if the Cowboys don't add a tackle, right, and let's remember this: if they do not add a tackle of any kind, it is the Cowboys saying that to some degree they are comfortable with Josh Ball. Because if the Cowboys do not add anybody, they are comfortable with Josh Ball being their swing tackle. That's what not adding anybody represents. Now, we might see the Cowboys go out and add, like they might add somebody. I don't think that they will not add somebody. I think they will add somebody to be specific, to be clear, to use more simple words. I think the Cowboys will add somebody. However, I think we're all going to be incredibly underwhelmed. I don't think it's going to be anybody of thank you. Brady says that I need to educate myself. It's called the Spirit Bomb. Okay, let's Spirit Bomb. That's my bad. But anyway, my prediction here as we're Spirit Bombing is the Cowboys are going to sign a tackle that is not a threat to Tyler Smith. Right? They go out, they sign any of the names. We've written about this ourselves. Lots of people that make great Cowboys content have talked about these names. Again, just off the top, Brian Balaga, Marcus Cannon, Ty Nsekhe, Eric Fisher, Jason Peters, Andrew Whitworth, Laramie Tunsil, Andre Dillard. Those are kind of the big names, right? You do any surge Cowboys tackle options, right? Like that's what you're going to generate. It will be none of those. That's what my prediction is. My prediction is they will bring in somebody to be their new Josh Ball, right? Because I think they know. I think they get it. I don't think they're that obtuse. I think that they are going to bring in somebody to be their new Josh Ball. They're not going to get rid of Josh Ball because, hey, still can grow and develop. They're going to bring in somebody to be their swing tackle that is not a threat to Tyler. Because you bring in any one of the players that I just listed, those few names, that player's a better left tackle than Tyler Smith today. You can't play that. You can't play Tyler ahead of Brian Blanc. You can't play Tyler ahead of Laramie Tunsil if you trade for him, right? Like you can't. Like it doesn't make sense. So they won't do that. They will set themselves up to where Tyler Smith is the logical option at left tackle, and they will go out and get a new Josh Ball. That's my official prediction, which is unfortunate, and I would love to be wrong, but that's what I think is and Tony nailed it right here. Cam Irving or the equivalent. Just like that. Cam Irving, Cam Fleming. I know a lot of you said Chaz Green. It will be that. It will be James Washington. That's what it was. When the Cowboys signed James Washington, it was because they knew they were going to draft a receiver. They knew if they signed whoever, I mean, there were a lot of receivers. We don't have to relitigate that. But they knew if they signed a legitimate free agent wide receiver option that they wouldn't be able to sell whoever, because the free agency occurred before the draft. They wouldn't be able to sell their future draft pick as the answer. Right, so it's setting yourself up to own yourself, right? Like that's what they're doing. They're setting themselves up so that they can say, look, we brought in somebody, but Tyler's better. How can we not start Tyler over whoever, right? Like how can we not play Tyler over Cam Irving, Cam Fleming, whatever? That's what it's going to be. It is not going to be any one of these big names that we've been saying. We gave them all the credit in the world because they deserved it when they went out and got Anthony Barr. Where is that move? Where is that disposition? Why are you not getting it here? I mean, it's hard to fathom. It is hard to fathom. Sam Williams just tweeted, "Love this team, man. That's great to see." John Ridgway just tweeted a great photo of the rookies on the Cowboys defensive line. That's awesome. I hope he makes it. I hope they all make the team. I hope the NFL changes the rules and 80 players can make the roster. But we will see. We will see what happens. It is a very interesting spot to be in with the season. Like the season starts in 2 weeks, right? And we're all like so excited because football's back, and I'm sure a lot of you doing like your fantasy drafts and things like that. And so you know it's football, right? Like we're all getting ready. Like it's about to be like pumpkin spice season. Like next weekend, my wife's got me. She's already telling me to get all the fall decorations out so we can decorate our house. We have a 9-month-old, so it's our first kind of like fall, all together. It's gonna be really fun. And so it's a fun time of year, right? And so I think we're all like emotionally conflicted because we're all so upset. We're all so bothered, like, don't ruin this for us Cowboys. Like, don't ruin this. We enjoy this. We have a lot of fun around this time of year. So give us a reason to enjoy it. And right now it just feels like they're hell-bent on taking steps backwards. So we'll see. We'll see what the Troy Dudley says no team is perfect on the offensive line. That's true, but no team is. I don't like to use the word incompetent all too often, but no team is this incompetent. I mean, like, no team makes these decisions this way. It's a very simple thing. The example I've used all offseason long, the Buffalo Bills lost the AFC divisional round by 13 seconds. I mean, like, we all remember, we all watched that game. It was an amazing game. We all watched Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs pull off a miracle and beat the Bills. The Bills, had they been the Cowboys, would have said, man, we were so close. And we just ran into this crazy thing. We just ran into a crazy miracle that the 13-second thing happened, and then we lost the coin toss. That was our big flaw. We lost the coin toss. Right? Tell me if I'm wrong. That's how the Cowboys would have approached that situation. But what did the Bills do? The Bills said, we lost by 13 seconds because with 13 seconds on the clock, we couldn't get a stop. So what are we going to do about that? We're going to make sure that we don't ever lose a game by 13 seconds ever again. We're going to go out. We're going to get Von Miller. We're going to overpay. Hell yeah, we're going to overpay. And you know what? When we win the Super Bowl, nobody will care. Who will care? Who will be bothered that the Bills overpaid for Von Miller when they win the Super Bowl? Who will be bothered by that? Nobody. Nobody will care. Nobody will say, yeah, you won the Super Bowl, but you could have spent less money to do it. I mean, nobody will care about that. And so I admire that the Bills have that gumption, and I want that for our Cowboys, very much so. But all right, so that does it for our final postgame show in the preseason. We do this after every Dallas Cowboys game. If you're new around here, please do subscribe to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. That helps us out so much. Please like the video. If you're listening to the podcast or if you like podcasts, search for Blogging the Boys on your preferred podcast provider. Subscribe. And if you can, leave a rating, write a review. Those things, they help us out so much. We have videos that come out every day. We have podcasts that come out every day. A lot of you tell me to slow down when I'm speaking. I can't because I got so much, excitement in my heart for the Cowboys. I want to talk about it all the time. So we talk. We have an amazing team at Blogging the Boys. We have things coming out, content all of the time, and it's all free. You don't have to do anything. I mean, so we just, hey, we just enjoy it. You can follow Blogging the Boys on any social property. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on TikTok. Even though I'm a dad, I have to be cool. So I'm on TikTok at rj.ochoa. If you want to email me, you can, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. That is the way to do that. You can always leave a comment here on the YouTube page, and we'll get to those also. Yeah. At least this game did not start at 9 o'clock. It's a big win for us. Calker says, go Cowboys. Thank you for the super chat. All right. Hope you all have a wonderful, amazing weekend. Remember, we will have a 53-man roster prediction show, myself and other Blogging the Boys staffers coming to you on Sunday. And then a new week starts. And then we build this thing. Cowboys win the Super Bowl. I don't care what any of you say. Y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.